Welcome to Powered by Her, exploring the stories of how area women power their business. Hear from the growing network of female entrepreneurs of the Upper Cumberland with your host Tiffany Ann Ton, director of Biz Foundry. Powered by Her starts now.
Hello, welcome to Powered by Her in the Hints and Oakley Podcast Center. I have April Thiesen from Tour of the UC in today. Hi, April.
Hello.
Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So, give us a little snippet of what Tour of the UC. Did I say AC before?
No.
Tour of the UC, Upper Cumberland. So, tell us what Tour of the UC is.
We are a tour bus that goes around to different places here in the Upper Cumberland. We want to bring people from other areas here to visit us because we have amazing things right here in our backyard.
So, it's kind of your way to allow easily people who are in this hub of Cookeville to kind of get out and explore the region.
Yes, we have.
Easily.
We have great breweries, wineries, waterfalls, and a lot of fun things in between that we want people to be able to visit. And our little tagline is, we do the driving, you have the fun.
How often do you have people on a tour that they're like, I've never been here before. I didn't even know this existed.
Yeah, every single tour.
Yeah. And you probably have repeats by now.
I do.
I have people that go a lot.
Yeah, so we have many tours that we do. And last year I made a little award for two guys that have been on every single of my tours. I called them my 2019 groupies, and they got free seats for 2020.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. They're probably pretty excited when you presented them with that.
Yeah.
So take me back. You grew up in this area?
Yes.
Relatively?
Yes.
Like an hour-ish away?
An
hour. So more rural area. And were you the kind of explorer?
I have always been a lover of outdoors and adventures. So when I moved here and discovered a lot of the things, the waterfalls, the parks, all the scenery just fit perfect. You
like to explore this. So what brought you here to Cookeville?
College. So as soon as I was done with high school, I moved to Cookeville. So and it's never left.
Came to Tech, stayed here, hung out for a while, and then you and your husband started a powder coating company, which is probably not what started. It was something else first, right?
Yes, of course I did.
Industrial.
We were both in banking for quite some time.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then eventually we opened up our own business, which is a commercial powder coating business. So
is that is your degree in finance, baking, something like that? So you thought that's, when you're 18, 20, that's what you want to do, is like wear the business clothes, which she is currently wearing a flannel and jeans at the moment.
No makeup.
And you rock it.
Yeah, thanks.
So I'm guessing in your corporate bank days, that is not what life was like.
No, it was always heels and dressy stuff.
Yeah. So did you want it when you were a kid? Where was that your thought, is like, I'm going to be a banker when I grow up?
No, not at all.
What was as a kid, when little April at 7 years old, what did April say?
I was going to be a vet.
A vet?
Yeah.
Okay. And so what changed that path?
All the schooling involved in that.
Yeah.
But when I started college, that was the direction I was going. So
even when you first started, you were okay. So you were thinking,
yeah. So and then I went back to business.
And then you thought, oh, there's a lot of school and probably not as much money as you thought in that career path. And so, finance, banking, business is a decent. It'll take you a lot of places, open a lot of doors. So you decide to stay in Cookeville. You get a job at a bank. You and your husband are both working at a bank, and then you decide to go open a business. And it was first what? Because I know it's powder coating now, but what was it? That wasn't what it was at first, right?
Yeah, it was actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's branched into a few other things since then. We do custom build outs for bars, breweries. We make. Basically, my husband is a creative genius, and sometimes I don't understand it when he's trying to describe me or describe things to me. But he'll look at something and go, "I can make that pour beer." To the fact that I have a fire truck,
right? Yes,
that we take to events. It has a stage on top, and kegs can be put in the back for the after party.
So do you think his kind of I can do it entrepreneurial spirit kind of rubbed off on you a little bit?
A little bit, yeah.
So you guys are sitting around one day, and did he find the bus first, or did you have the idea first?
The idea kind of came first.
That wouldn't surprise me if he just bought a bus first, but...
Well, that didn't surprise me either, but in this case, it actually went the other direction.
So you guys are sitting around thinking...
Yeah, we were sitting at Red Silo one day, and he's like, it'd be cool. This town needs a bus to take people from bar, to brewery to brewery, and, to go to the wineries. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of a cool idea, but, he has many ideas, so I didn't really think much of it until a few weeks later. I come into work, and there's a bus.
So you have this slight conversation, and then he finds a bus.
Yes, so he shops on Gov Deals all the time, and just happened that our local sheriff department was selling their transport bus, and we bought it.
So he kind of thinks at first he's going to run a tour company kind of at first.
Yeah.
And he does one or two, and you're like, this is not working.
Yeah. So we, of course, got it in October of 2018, and we, through the winter, we were just testing the concepts, inviting friends and family, to go on a couple tours, which was one of our Wine and Waterfall tours and our Brunch and Brews tour. We wanted to just get their feedback, see if this was something that we think could work for our area, and it turns out that it did. So by late February, early March 2019 is when it started kicking off. And it was it was like 1 or 2 tours a month. And sometimes I'd have to cancel. And sometimes, I was just begging people, like, please come on this tour, just inviting to put some bodies on it. Because we always have live music on our bus. And I knew it was going to work. It was just getting the word out. And I needed people to help share it.
How were you so sure that this was going to work?
Because it was so much fun. Because it's so much fun.
Nobody walked away with poor feedback. No. And so you just kind of thought, okay, if I can touch this, how many people are on a tour?
The larger bus will hold 20 people.
So 20 people walk away. Okay, there's got to be another 20 people and another. So was it kind of just like keep putting one foot in front of the other and just keep going?
Just keep going. And I put out just on our social media, just like, if you could get on a bus and go somewhere, where would you want to go? What do you want to do? And then I would use some of those ideas and that feedback to create new tours. And I'm always looking for a destination, an eatery, somewhere that people just don't travel to as often. And that's why we use Fog Light quite a bit, because it's in Rock Island.
Fog Light Food House. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that is one of the places where I feel like people really talk about, but it's like this like magical, like, have you ever been there? It's forever away. And it really isn't.
It really isn't. It's just curvy roads.
And it feels like it when you're kind of going that way, because it's not a way you're used to or whatnot, but it's not, mm-hmm. It's not really as out of the way as you would think.
And I talked to Corey right before I got here, and she's like, we've been open 23 years. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
23 years that place has existed in Rock Island. It's not a commercialized restaurant. It's and just a guy owns the restaurant, and he's done so well that he's kept it going for 23 years.
Yeah. In case you're just joining us, you're listening to April Thiesen. April Thiesen's joining us today with Tour of the UC in the Hinson Oakley Podcast Center. The other thing that I think is really interesting is that you're able to go into these communities and kind of, help the economy a little bit, of put your own little bit into there of boosting. Okay, so you take 20 people down to Fog Light Food House in the small community of Rock Island. And then how many of those 20 people are going to go back and take other friends of theirs? And, you have the chance to really impact their business. And some of these wineries, Northfield Vineyards is a place where I had driven by and I had never really seen it. And so, you allow these businesses to get exposure. It's kind of a little bit of a marketing ploy for them as well.
Absolutely. And when the bus comes to some of the distillery as well as the winery, they offer them a discount because they're on the tour bus.
Yeah.
So if they purchase anything to take with, then they get some benefits as well.
They have a good partnership with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, like you said, you have a variety of different tours, but how do you come up with, I mean, you get some feedback from people, and I mean, would you consider yourself a foodie? So foodies are just,
so.
no, okay.
I don't think so. I like food.
Do you just kind of try and find different places, or
I do.
how do you come up with the ideas of these tours?
Well, the Brunch and Brews was one of our very first. And so, of course, Fog Light was involved, and they were doing brunch, but they were thinking about stopping their brunch on Sundays because it just didn't seem to be pulling enough people to do it on a Sunday. So when we reached out to them and started bringing them a busload of people, then their, handful of people that would come in, it was worth it for them. And so then we started doing it twice a month, because that tour is so popular.
Mm-hmm.
And so it, and he's, Ed resists me all the time. He's like, thank you so much. We appreciate what you're doing for us.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I appreciate what you're doing for me.
Right. Yeah. That they're allowing 20 people to just show up.
Yeah.
So Brunch and Brews, and then Wine and Waterfalls was another one that you started. So this area has a lot of waterfalls.
Yes.
And so did you just think we need to get people out to these waterfalls?
Absolutely.
What else can we?
So that one is more of an excursion. So those are, the day that you wear comfortable shoes, because we are going to hike. And currently we're visiting 3 waterfalls. We go to Lost Creek Falls, we go to Burgess Falls, and Twin Falls. And Burgess Falls is the longest. So we'll actually hike the whole thing and see all 3 waterfalls that are there. So you're going to see 5 waterfalls in one day. We have a lunch at Fog Light. We'll go down there and enjoy sitting overlooking the river and eat lunch, and then we're back on the road to the next waterfall.
And what other, you have a beer and donuts one that has been kind of, I've seen lately.
Yeah, that one is a little trip into Nashville where we use our smaller bus. And of course, who wants to drive to Nashville and try to enjoy a few breweries and then have to drive back? It's just, don't do it. Get on our bus. Let us take you.
Right.
So on that one, there's...
what was the inspiration for going to Nashville?
Oh, gosh. I watched a little video on Facebook from the Donut and Dog. It just happened to come through my feed. And the little video was of them pairing a flight of beer with a flight of donuts. And I'm like, gotta go there. That is going to be... it's so much fun. So that was my destination. I'm like, we're going to have to go here. So I just kind of looked at what was around them. And New Heights Brewery, Jackalope, and the Picnic Tap are places that I was familiar with already. And so we could just make a little circle of it and then come back. So that one,
is there usually some sort of nature element to it too, or?
When we're here in the Upper Cumberland, yes. So this is, it's a very small trip into Nashville. So it's my only one that I'm currently doing.
Okay.
But everything else here in the Upper Cumberland, yes. We always try to fit in something scenic as one of the waterfalls.
Yeah. To take people to the nature of the area. So what has been the most difficult part of owning your own business? So you're talking a lot about how fun it is and how great, but running a business is more than just booking a tour and getting people out here. So you're overly organized, I think. You always have a binder. I think this is the first time I've seen you without your binder and all the papers.
I call it the bus Bible.
I ran into you at the grocery store and saw you with the grocery store. So what is the most difficult thing about running a business for you?
When, of course, just the social media of it takes time, because you have to constantly feed it for people to see what you've got going on. You can't just, let it just sit. You have to constantly feed event information to it. But running the website, I had, I've dabbled in websites, but never full on ran the website. So it was a lot of learning, a learning curve to just get familiar with what I had to do to make one event talk to everything else.
And what did you do to get that going? Did you take any classes or what kind of resources did you use?
The website, of course, I had set up. I
hired it out.
Yeah, hired it out to have it set up, and then just talking through the person who set it up for me, and I'm a question asker. So I asked and asked and asked and asked until I was just like, okay, well, I can probably do this on my own, but if I have more questions, I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
So, and I've watched a few tutorials on, how to set things up.
What do you think? Where do you think that comes from? Of just like, okay, I'm going to ask all these questions, and then just now I can do it. I have the confidence to do it.
Yeah, I'm kind of nerdy anyway, so it worked. I understand how it all works in the background. Just making sure that I set it up so it's going to work properly.
Yeah, and look good and stuff like that. Do you think that you, as a kid, were you like that annoying kid that asked 7 million questions all the time? Were you like an explorer that wanted to know how everything worked and how it all went together? And
I do ask a lot of questions to the point that Brian, my husband, is just like, stop. I'm just like, I just want to know.
Well, and I would guess it's not a question. He's just a doer and not a questioner.
He is. And so we, butt heads occasionally. I'm just like, I'm just trying to understand what you're doing.
But you also pair very well too, right? Like it goes both ways.
Yeah.
So tell us what is coming in the future for Tour the UC. What in the media in the next couple of months do we have coming up?
Well, we have our tours that we run consistently. So we have our brunch and brews that we run every month, our wine and waterfalls, which will start in March when it starts warming up. A wine tour that we do that it's just wines. But the one that I'm super excited about is our murder mystery tour. It's going to be a brew hop tour. So everybody on the bus will be involved. Everybody is a suspect. So they'll get the storyline. They'll get some information about their character.
And it's kind of like the game Clue, right?
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm. And at each stop, they will get a clue to start eliminating their suspects. So in the end, somebody is getting arrested for the murder of Jake Henry.
Oh. And your idea for this is that you went to a theater. Is that kind of like a show that like a one-stop thing that was just a standalone show, if you will?
Salina last September, was doing their own murder mystery, and what they were doing was trying to bring people from all the counties around them in to see like all of their antique shops, their downtown. It's a super cute little town, but it is out there. So pretty much people only visit, they visit there, but a lot of their traffic is just passerbys going to the lake. So they did their own murder mystery, and they had reached out to me to see if I was interested in being a part of it. And basically, we were just a shuttle. So we just took the people to the event itself. And in the same concept, there was a storyline. They had actors, and we would go around to each of the places on the square and just find clues and start eliminating. And then I was like, we had so much just social media, just hype over it, and I only had the one bus at that point, and I could only take 20 people, but I seen so much feedback from it. It's like, well, we can do our own murder mystery and incorporate it into one of our tours, and that is, that would work perfectly. So I started,
and you could show a bigger region, right? So then again, you get to involve these other entrepreneurs, these other small business owners that are, looking for a jump in their business. And so you get to kind of take these people to not only to other communities as well. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty exciting. And just, I think it's interesting the way you look at things of like, okay, how can I do this? Yeah. What, I had fun. You nicknamed this the fun bus.
I do.
And so you're always looking for ways of what fun things can I do?
Yep.
And so there's always something new that you're looking to do.
Yep. There. Next on my list is going to be a whiskey tour. Here locally, we have tons of distilleries across Tennessee, and there's actually a whiskey trail. And I picked up the information at our local distillery, and it's like a little passport book, and you get stamps at each of the distilleries that you visit. And I was like, well, we can't do them all, and but we could do some of them.
Yeah.
So that's next on my planning list
to take off. So, in case you're just joining, we have April Thiesen with Tour the UC in with us today in the Hinton Oakley Podcast Center. one thing that we've talked about before is that you had a tour that was a moonlight tour, and your kind of inner circle was telling you it was going to be overpriced.
Right.
And so you were kind of looking at the numbers, and you do have that banking background, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with that. So that's a huge bonus for you. And you said, this is what I need to, this is what I'm going to have to charge. So tell me a little bit more about that situation.
Well, the full moon is just, huge. So, and we have so many areas here that we can enjoy the full moon. So I was like, well, let's do a night tour and do a full dinner at Foglight. And Foglight's not the only place that we visit. It's just one of the places we visit the most. Do a full dinner at Foglight and then go down to the waterfalls after dinner and see the waterfalls in the full moonlight. And when I started working on my numbers on how much the food, because we would try to make most of our tours all inclusive so that you don't have to do anything. So some are and some aren't. And this particular one would be. And we were going to stop at Calf Killer and Happy Trails as well. So we were including a couple beers along the way, some snacks, and then a full course meal, and then the waterfall after. And I knew where I needed to be because I knew what my costs were. And I was worried that people wouldn't purchase tickets because it was going to be an $85 a seat event. And I was like, well, we'll just have to see. Just try it and see.
And your inner circle, your husband, was like, there's no way you're not going to be able to sell that out.
Right. And I did.
Yeah. And so, but it was risky, right? It was tough for you to make that decision, and it definitely stressed you out a little bit of knowing to do the right thing and kind of believing in yourself. So where do you get that motivation to like, no, I know I'm right. I can do this.
Well, I definitely doubt myself at times, but I just try to just push forward and just, all you can do is try and see. And if it doesn't work, tweak it.
Yeah.
So my full moon tour this coming year, which will be June 5th, I believe that's correct. I will probably adjust it just a little bit and see what happens. The price won't actually be any more. I think it'll be less. I think I'm just going to adjust the event itself.
Well, isn't that kind of how business goes, right? I mean, you've kind of had to do that with all the tours. Mm-hmm. You try something and, okay, I like this component and this component, but I didn't like the way this worked.
Right.
Or, and I think, we talked about the fact that Brian ran a couple of the tours at the beginning, and you definitely found some things that you didn't really like when that was going on. Yeah. And so you were able to say, no, this is how I want to do it in the future, and adjust and kind of find the best formula, if you will.
Yep. So there will be some tweaking along the way of different tours.
Which I think that every business is
absolutely
goes through that. Is there a part of it that you just really, I mean, we've talked about this before, that you light up when you talk about that. This is like your baby. And which everybody, when you start a business, that's really how you should feel. But are there parts of it that you just dread doing, that you just don't?
No, not yet. I've had to learn some additional things like insurance and the things that we need to run the business that we do. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the website. But I know that there are certain times of the day where I can do certain things that require more focus, and times of the day where things are a little more hectic at our office that I could do other things. But what I love is getting emails and phone calls from people from all over that have heard about us, that want to either know more, book a seat, or, hey, we have VIPs coming in to our area in October, and we want you to take them on a tour and shuttle them from their hotel to our, a place that we're eating. And I'm like, okay. Do you feel like that's kind of like, I made it, or I'm making it? I feel like I'm making it.
Yeah. What do you think will be the benchmark to say, I have made it?
we need to get a couple years under the belt and just, I mean, it's doing so well. And I'm very happy with the results that we're getting at this point. But, of course, we have some older buses. So the next thing will be, it's got to grow. So our buses need to grow up a little bit as well. And, just keep improving what we have.
Yeah, keep going. If people want to find you, how can they find you?
They can find us on social media at Tour the UC, or our website is tourtheuc.com. And the UC is for Upper Cumberland.
Yes. So, anything else that you want to let our listeners know before we end today? Any advice for other women starting a business?
Definitely. Well, get on our fun bus because you're guaranteed a good time. And if there are women entrepreneurs out there, just if you feel it in your heart, you just keep going. Just keep going until it all fits together.
And then that smile that you have that is almost like, I feel like it could hurt you because you smile so much when talking about it. So, and I'm sure there'll be rough days and tough days and stuff like that. And, but you just keep going. Like I said, put one foot in front of the other.
Yep.
So
and my husband, he's like, when are you going to put these buses up for winter? And I was like, well, when winter ever gets here, it's been pretty, so we're just going to keep going.
Yeah, you might as well. Yeah. So, well, thank you for joining us today. We had April Thiesen from Tour the UC in the Hints and Oakley Podcast Center. I'm Tiffany Anton with the Biz Foundry. Thanks for listening to Powered by Her.
You've been listening to Powered by Her. Download your favorites and keep up with new episodes in the Hints and Oakley Podcast Center.